Hey everyone, it's Gandalf 1000 with another or yet another video where he shows records nobody really cares about, but he will do it anyway. Um, I don't know what I do these videos. I don't know. You know, it must be a form of masochism or something. In any case, I play lots of records because that's what I do. First thing in the morning, I put a record on. That's what I do. I love music. And about 4 weeks ago, I decided to stop buying records for a while, and I love it. I totally recommend the a period of time when you don't consume things. There are so many great records on my shelves, so many things that I bought over the years, even let's just say over the past 2 or 3 years, things that I have not explored deeply enough. I mean, it's literally like going to the record shop. It really is. You walk in there and you go, oh fuck, what is this record? Um, and I think these days with the FOMO created by certain people and certain record companies, certain influencers, and I don't. Please don't look at me. I'm no influencer. I'm just a bloke talking about records that he likes. But with this kind of ever present, you look at something like Instagram, which I don't take part in at all, but I know what goes on. People posting records all day long. Flexing basically. This kind of ever revolving kind of roster of "Yeah, have you got this? Don't you have this? I have this. And I'm a culprit as well, I guess. I quite often say you need this record, but it's the passion in me that speaks more than anything else. When I find a really nice record, I really want to share it with you all, more than anything. But yeah, not buying records. There's something to be said about it because it's really refreshing. You find yourself not spending time trawling through websites with records on. You think of, oh, the best the best thing about, I mean, I've got my collection listed on Discogs, and the best thing about that is I will go on my Discogs and look in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of what I've bought, and just go, oh, this record here, I haven't played it forever. I just take it as the shelf. I recommend. I think that there's a great deal of value in it, and if you, because this is, we live in it's a rat race. It's a consumer society. We always encourage to buy, 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 buy. And sometimes with records, it's pretty mindless. You buy a lot of records and you don't really play them. You don't really enjoy them. As much as you should. For me, it gives me anxiety a little bit because they sit in my crate. The computer here is propped on two crates. And then I feel obliged to play these records, even though I don't necessarily want to play them at the time. I've been talking for nearly 4 minutes, and you don't really care. But it's just an opinion. I'm meant to do a video on record collecting as a whole and just sharing some thoughts. But I think by and large, I probably would offend too many people if I made that video. My hatred for the term Holy Grail, my disdain for colored vinyl, sort of fancy gimmicky editions. I have no time for my complete and utter disregard for things considered to be premium audiophile. If they happen to be, that's good, but all that would offend people. So I'm going to talk about some classical music that I've been playing recently, because I always start with classical music these days, and I love it. I pulled out these three records, and I didn't play all three of them. I think I played only one of them, but they go in a set. I went to the, long story short, I went to the thrift store down the road from me here. It's about 500 meters away. That was about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and one Saturday morning, and there was like a mother load of like really amazing stuff, library records and lots of really top-notch classical. And there's this three volume Yehudi Menuhin doing solo Bach on violin. Just really fucking beautiful stuff. Just so delicate and so just perfect music for a Sunday morning, for example. You put that on and it just puts you into a mood that is just, so these are from the 1950s, I think. And they are originals of the time, and they're in such good condition. People who had these before me really took care of them. And I love Bach. I mean, do I need to talk about Bach? He's the granddaddy. He's like, with Beethoven and Bach there. I put Brahms there too, but since I'm talking about Beethoven, I can't forget Mozart too. I mean, I pulled this out, which is also a thrift store find from years and years ago. I bought it because it was on Bis record, which is like, typically avant-garde type of fare. This is so well played, so delicate. This is Hans Paulsen, who is a Swedish pianist. Who, I read the notes whilst I was playing this the other day, but I can't exactly remember. There's one of the pieces by Larsen is a Swedish composer, who is seemingly well known in Sweden. But you've got Mozart and Beethoven and Haydn on this, and it's just exquisite solo piano, except for the concerto, which is the last piece there. And here, this I've played 2 or 3 times this week. I was at Licorice Pie, which is perhaps maybe the greatest record store we have in Melbourne here. Probably about 5 years ago. And they have a bin at the front of the shop with discounted records that no one wants, like a $5 record. And this was in it, and I just, I snapped it up because sonatas for viola, clarinet, and piano, hell yeah, why not? And this one of these records that I pull out once in a while, it's absolutely exquisite. And the thing with Max Bruch, he was a German composer from the Romantic period. He didn't compose very many chamber pieces. In fact, I think this may be one of his only like 2 or 3 chamber pieces, even maybe his only chamber piece. And that record is not even on Discogs or anywhere where I can find. I don't know anything about this record. The back is blank and there's a name there, A. White, but it's sublime music, really delicately played. It's almost at times like a modern, a really nice modern classical record. Okay, just some other things that this morning, this is Saturday morning, I pulled out, I revisited this record, which probably haven't talked about very much. This is Spirograph Studies. Now, this is a private press. The album is called Lowlight. It came out in 2021. It's an Australian 5-piece comprising of double piano, guitar, electric or double bass, electric bass, and drums. It has a kind of modern classical, post-rock, ambient kind of feel. I feel of like a bit like Rachel's, if you know Rachel's. That's the sound that you get from this. So I played this morning. It's exquisite as well. It's really sort of at times a little bit somber in mood as well, and but it's gorgeous music overall. Also recently revisited this fabulous spiritual jazz record, Dion Footer, which is a trio of Sheikh Tidiane Fall, Bobby Few, and Joe Maka. So Sheikh Tidiane Fall is from Senegal, Joe Maca is from Guinea, and Bobby Few is American. It's a trio of percussion, piano, soprano, sax. Just suffice to say that this is kind of an obscurity that maybe, take a listen to it. It's in 1979, recorded in Paris in 79, and reissued on Comos in 2018. I was talking about Comos Records last installment with the Greatness Acoustronics, same label, but this is a reissue. Very, very high caliber, spiritual jazz, avant-garde jazz, just beautiful stuff. I spoke about this record a few years ago. Here's I was saying, you forget records, you forget what you have on your shelves. This is case in point. It's a record I bought, when it got released, after it got released. This is Ichiko Aoba with Windswept Aiden. This is the name of the artist and the band, the name of the record. This came out like 2020 or something. And she's a Japanese, you would say she's a Japanese folk singer, but she delves into ambient and very sort of like ethereal kind of soundscapes, very aquatic in nature. She conceived this as the imaginary soundtrack to or a soundtrack to an imaginary film rather, and it sounds like what it looks like. It's just gorgeous, aquatic, melancholic, kind of lush recording. It's beautiful. Ichiko Aoba. Now I'm showing records in really random order of what is at my feet there. So revisited Woody Show, the Moon Train, absolutely incredible record, featuring Asa Lawrence on sax. You have Cecil McBee on bass, Buster Williams on bass. A really lovely session that he recorded for Muse. Very sort of, four to the floor, really dynamic session, beautiful playing. I mean, Woody Shaw is a very, very underrated trumpet player, in my opinion. I saw that they're reissuing the classic Blackstone Legacy. So, people will be able to get that. Since I'm on jazz, another couple that I revisited. Steve Reed, the live album, Odyssey of the Oblong Square, 1977. This is the 2009 Universal Sound reissue. Avant-garde jazz, free jazz. Steve Reed, drummer extraordinaire, sadly departed. Very, very, again, very dynamic, very all over the place. If you like free jazz, avant-garde jazz, that'll be your bag. And Dom, Seeking a Thread, posted a video a few days ago, and the thumbnail had this record in, and I thought, well, this is a record I haven't played forever and ever. Charles Chasha Shaw with Into Morning on Folkways Records. This record is, again, it's a free jazz record. What I thought when I was rediscovering it is the moments where he gets into it. It's really you get really a sense of his joy for playing. But there are other moments, because of the quality of the recording is sometimes so you find yourself having to turn up the volume of it on your stereo to actually just hear the fine detail. So it's hit and miss for me, this record, but it's a lovely, lovely record all the same, which came out in 1976 on Smithsonian Folkways. I was just digging into my jazz shelves, and I pulled these two fabulous comps out. I'm going to spotlight those for a minute. These are called Pyramid Pieces, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And as you can see, Modern Jazz Australia 69 1980, and this is one. This one is 69 79. So I mean, a lot of these tracks I have on because I collect obviously Australian, good quality Australian jazz. I've got a lot of this stuff. But what you get with these is two beautiful modernist paintings. This is Peter Upwood, the painting there, who is an Australian modernist of the highest caliber. Not very well known, but should be better known. And this one is a piece by James Meldrum, a piece from that he painted in 1969. I just thought these are beautiful things. Not only you get a piece of artwork, but the jazz you get on it is fantastic. And if you live overseas and you want to get into Aussie jazz and you can't buy the original records, you could do worse. These are on the Round Table Records, which is a Melbourne label run by James Pianta, who is a local figure here. I went into my Brazilian section and pulled these two out. Azimuth, which is just a classic Brazilian jazz funk record. I think it's got a very strong pop element in there as well. It's a bit like Cortex, the French band Troupeau Bleu. It's a mix of pop, jazz and funk, in sort of equal parts almost. I love the track Montreal City, sorry. And the second track, which I'm not going to launch into pronouncing Meliodos, whatever the pronunciation is. I don't speak Portuguese, but this is dynamite. It's a really amazing, a really original blend of funky keyboards and sort of like very sort of sweet vocals. It's dope. And this one as well, which is also a jazz funk with a sort of MPB tinge. Cesar Mariano and I imagine his company, but a beautiful record, 1970, 75, I think this one. Again, like hard hitting, just amazing, on point jazz funk. I think if you like things like Placebo, that's another comparison. Placebo, Marc Moulin, very good. A French psych record that I bought when it got reissued, but rarely played. Popera Cosmique. It's a band featuring some of the luminaries of the French underground at the time. Guy Skornik, William Scheller, and the sitar of Serge Franklin, very, very, and the pop group Ellis. So this is kind of like it should have been a monster project, but it became a nothing record because it was shelved and deleted by the record company because of rights issues and so on. But it's a great slice of French pop psych from the time. It's not something I would listen to every day, and it's not something that I would spend, a 1,000 euros price tag or whatever it is now to buy. But I'm glad the reissue exists. Pull that Azimuth, the amazing Norma Winston, John Taylor, and Kenny Wheeler trio on ECM with the fantastic opener Siren Song 77. Again, ethereal, magical kind of atmosphere, really deep and impenetrable at times as well. On ECM. It's a pop record that I really love as well. Invisible Silence by the Art of Noise. I mean, the Art of Noise are the great innovators of synth pop, really, without question. That was the second record, and I think just as effective as the debut. This one does not feature the debut's lineup, but it still retains a lot of the invention of the debut. Okay, Some more French records that I pulled out just for fun. The fantastic Catherine Ribeiro and Alp. I think possibly their first record under that name. You know, what to say about these guys? They really reinvented the medium at the time. You know, you've got Patrice Moulet, who's Catherine Ribeiro's partner, who just used to build his own instrument, like the Cosmophone or the. What have we got here? He plays classical guitar, organ, vocals, and electric lyre. I don't think on this album the invented instruments featured yet, but they were working on them for sure. I just love. There's a track called 15th of August 1970, the third track. Just check that out. It's fabulous, really is. This record, which I mean is a classic, a folk classic from France. Emmanuel Parena, Maison Rose, Pink House. There's so many highlights on this, but the second side, the opening of the second side it's really like it's avant folk. It's, you know, a bit jazzy in parts. It's like you've got the impression you listen to Comus if they came from France. You know, again, just really, and there's some really beautiful, you know, lovely, you know, minimal moments that's very stripped down, and you've got this kind of you know, times a little manic energy on some tracks. She's certainly a very original artist. I played Future Shock. Why not? I mean, you know, it's heavy, you know, it's cool. I'll just show you a couple more and then I'll stop. You know, I'll pull out a few more that I played, and then yeah, I'll pull this file here, and not too many more. What I pulled out the other day, I thought, oh, I haven't played these forever, is those 3 piece by Sven Wunder, Eastern Flowers, Wabi Sabi, and Natura Morta. So he's a Swedish, you know, he's probably about my age, the guy. I think Anders in Stockholm knows him. You know, this one is more like a library pastiche. This is a Japanese kind of feel, kind of library record, Japanese. And this has got a real Turkish kind of like Anatolian rock kind of feel. There's kind of tribute records. They're all very beautiful. They're all very listenable. You know, I can't really say very much. It's from Sweden. I pulled out 2 Joe Henderson records, which I hadn't played for a while. I mean, these are classics. So The Elements with Alice Coltrane and Charlie Hayden, and I mean Michael White. He's a trippy spiritual jazz record. This one is not really talked about very often. Tetragon, which came out in 1968. A really splendid sort of touching on free jazz, post bop record, just really great. And I might finish with a couple of 2 or 3 more, and I'll just stop after that. Yeah, I'll just do 3 more. The Dirty Three, great Australian post-rock band. Warren Ellis on violin, really spiritual and spirited kind of, again, very beautiful nocturnal music, very, very sensual at times, from 98. Probably the greatest post-rock album to ever come out of Australia. The Golden Palominos, which I love, the No Wave band, featuring Arto Lindsay, Fred Frith, Bill Laswell, and John Zorn, amongst others. If that doesn't sell to you, this is the debut album on celluloid. This is an absolute, just really excellent record. It's a kind of a no wave post punk, very sort of with a touch of free jazz kind of post punk record. And I'll stop with obviously she died way too young, and this record is so wonderful in so many ways. Jackie, what a track! Oh my God, Jerusalem, just Jackie. Jackie is amazing. So rest in peace, Sinead OConnor. You made this album is just a masterpiece, and it's just an art pop, tour de force, you would say. Sorry, this is a bit of a nothing installment, but watch it or not.